Hello everyone. Welcome to Live from the Dolce Vita Cafe on the last day of February in 2021. So how is everyone today? If you're joining me live, don't forget that you can talk to me in the chat. So if you want to say hello, I would love to know where you're from if you join me live. I am in southern New Jersey. Or if you are watching the replay, feel free to write me a comment down below. So if anything that I talk about today is interesting to you, please share a comment or ask me a question. Or if you have any ideas for future episodes that you want me to talk about, I will be glad to entertain those ideas. So I'm going to take a sip of water and refresh my page so I can see if anyone joins me live. So I have a few things prepared that I wanted to talk to you about today. So, excuse me. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, I read an article a while back. Well, I had read an article a while back, a study actually, a health study about normally when people talk about a healthy diet, they recommend having at least 5 vegetables a day. But I had read this article a year or two ago about adding 10 vegetables and fruits 10 servings of vegetables and fruits to your day. So it doesn't have to be 10 different vegetables or fruits, but 10 servings of vegetables and fruits, and how that can really be beneficial to your overall health, to your heart, to your longevity. So I wanted to give an example of how I try. I don't make it every single day, but I do try to eat that many fruits and vegetables in a day, and I don't eat a lot of meat, so it's a little easy when you're substituting things like vegetables. So I wanted to give you an example of the other day, everything that I ate that day. So consider this an oral version of what I eat in a day and how it added up to being 10 fruits and vegetables in one day. So I wrote them down here. Oops, my internet is being slow. Hopefully you can hear me. So I wrote down the 10 vegetables on my list down here so I didn't forget them. So I released a video yesterday or the day before, actually the night before, about a vegetable pastry that I made. So I just used the puff pastry that I bought in the store, and then I cooked it in the oven, I coated it with ricotta cheese, and I covered it in vegetables. So on that meal alone, I had turnip tops, I had fennel, yellow squash, zucchini, onions, and red pepper. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4. That is 6 vegetables in one day. Now, serving sizes aren't really large, so you don't have to think about you're eating a whole plate full of each of these vegetables. A serving size is just a few ounces. So think about, if you think about the size of the palm of your hand, that's about 3 or 4 ounces. So if you're having a piece of fish or a piece of meat, that would be a serving size. And likewise with a vegetable, it might be like what you can cup in your hands. It doesn't have to be a lot. But it is nice to get a variety of different colored vegetables. So that was 6 right there. And then later on that day, I made some bruschetta, which is little pieces of toasted bread with a mixture that I made of tomatoes, onions, and garlic. Now, I'm not really counting garlic as a vegetable. I think of that more as a seasoning, but the garlic would be the 11th one for the day, but I added tomatoes and onions again. And then for dinner that evening, I made salmon with mashed potatoes and peas. So I had mashed potatoes and peas, so that's 2 more vegetables. So it totaled 10 vegetables, 11 if you count the garlic. And it was really easy. And that's just the way I eat almost every day. So the puff pastry, I'll put a link to the video down below if you want to see how I made it. It was really easy. And bruschetta, I have a video for that as well. Bruschetta is so delicious. So anytime you're looking for a snack and you want to try to eat something healthy that's not really fattening, bruschetta is a great example. And then with salmon, sometimes people don't know what to eat with fish. So sometimes I'll make rice or something with fish, but I really like salmon with mashed potatoes. And then I haven't had peas in a while, so we bought peas and we made peas. And it was just an overall really lovely day of food, and I got 10 servings of vegetables. Actually, it wasn't really much fruit, is there? I guess tomato technically is a fruit. But if I had added a banana or something for breakfast, it would have been even more beneficial. So it's not as hard as you think to add that many servings of fruit and vegetables to your day, and I really highly recommend it. So that's topic number 1. So I see some people have joined me. Hello, thank you for joining me. Let's see if we have any comments yet. Nope. So if you just joined me, if you want to say hello in the chat box and let me know where you're from. And let me know what the weather is like where you are today. Is it getting to be springtime, or are you moving into winter? I know I have a lot of followers who are from Australia and New Zealand, so they're on the opposite side. Today it's very kind of dark and rainy here today, and a little chilly, which is why I'm all bundled up. So let me take a sip of water and then we'll move into our next topic. I have a quote that I put on my Instagram, I think last New Year's Eve, and it's a quote that I keep handy. I wrote it down and I keep it inside my notebook that I take notes in. And it is, the key to your future is in your daily routine. Now think about that. So anything that you want in the future, you really have to start working on today and making it just a habit. So I always talk about Mediterranean diet is not just a diet, it's a lifestyle as well. And it's small little habits that you get used to that add up to big changes over time. So there are good habits, there are bad habits. You know, a bad habit would be smoking or overeating or over shopping or whatever. And a good habit would be brushing your teeth before you go to bed or flossing every day. You know, we have good habits and bad habits. So sometimes we tell ourselves when we're trying to lose weight that, you know, oh, I've tried a million times, I've tried a million diets, I just can't lose weight. Or if I do, I just gain it right back. And a lot of times that's because in the United States, we'll diet for, you know, we'll starve ourselves for 2 weeks trying to lose weight. So we'll try to make these massive changes in a short amount of time. And then of course they can't work because we're just not used to them. And we might lose a little weight because we're going on vacation, but then we gain it all back when we get back. So if you really try to make small changes over time, it might take longer to lose weight, but you'll get used to it by creating a habit, by creating a good habit. So I'll give you an example from my own life. I like to have coffee in the morning, and I usually drink 2, maybe 3 cups of coffee in the morning, and I like it black with sugar. So I always used to put in a full teaspoon of sugar in my coffee. But if you think about it, if I had 3 cups of coffee that day, I had 3 teaspoons of sugar. So what I started to do, so that I wouldn't notice it too much, is I started to take 3/4 of a teaspoon of sugar. You know, I just put a little bit less on the spoon, and you barely notice it when you're drinking your coffee. And I did that for a little while until I got used to it. Then I reduced it a little bit more, so I was only doing a half a teaspoon. Then I reduced it a little bit more. I didn't want to do completely without it because I like the way that sugar kind of, you know, cuts the edge off of coffee, especially because I drink it black most of the time. But I got myself down to a 1/4 teaspoon of sugar. So instead of having 3 teaspoons of sugar with my morning coffee, I have a teaspoon and well, I guess it would be like 3/4 of a teaspoon. So not even like a full teaspoon, by reducing it down to a 1/4 for each one. And I think that makes significant changes over time because we consume so much sugar throughout the year. And, you know, sugars are good for you too. They're in fruits and they're in foods and you need them for energy. But the white refined sugar that we'll put in a drink like that isn't the best kind of sugar that you can have. But by doing that a little at a time, I didn't just do it overnight. I didn't just start drinking black coffee to where I was just like, oh, I just don't like this. I'm going back to my sugar. I did a little bit at a time, so I got used to it. It was gradual. And now I don't consume as much sugar in the morning, and I think it's really beneficial for me. So try to think of little ways. What is your problem area during the day? You know, maybe you put a lot of ketchup on your French fries or something like that. And, you know, so maybe you can start reducing your ketchup. Then maybe you can start having a French fry alternative. So you have, you know, baked little strips of fries. Sometimes I'll cut potatoes into little fry shapes, and then I don't fry them. I roll them around a little olive oil and bake them in the oven as a little healthier alternative. And, you know, so maybe you can just start reducing little things like that to where you're still getting the potato flavor that you like with your meal, but it's a different kind, and it was just a little bit at a time. And maybe you don't want to like cut something like that completely out of your diet because potatoes aren't bad for you; they're good for you. So just think about little ways that you can tweak your habits and tweak little things that you do every day to where they just become a natural part of your life and you don't even think about it. I don't even think about how much sugar I used to put in my coffee anymore. I just like it. I got used to the way that I drink it now. So just something to think about. So small habits make big changes, and the key to your future is in your daily routine. So what do you want to happen in your future? What do you want your future to be like? And what little tiny changes can you start making today that can become habits over time that where suddenly your future is here, right? I hope that helps. So let's see. It is 11 minutes into our live. I have I have 2 more topics for you. Let me take a sip of water. And if you're wondering why I'm wearing a hat, I really need to color my hair. And I have this whole routine. I haven't been to the salon since the COVID happened, as you can see how long my hair is right now. But I wanted to lighten my hair up a little because I've been doing it a medium brown that's coming out way too dark. So I bought a highlighting kit. So I was going to go through the steps of highlighting it and then give myself a break for a little bit so the hair, has time to recover from that. And then I was going to go a tiny bit shade lighter brown by coloring over that and hope it'll give some dimension to my hair. So I'm in transition, so I didn't want to scare you with the with the in transition part. So I wrote a blog post earlier this week called 5 Tips for How to Be More Productive. And I'm not going to go through all those tips with you. I will link anything that I mentioned, like this blog post, I will link down below when we're finished with this live show. But I do want to go through one of those tips with you because it's something that's been happening to me. And one of my tips was to don't waste so much time on social media and playing games. So I see a lot of people online, a lot of young girls online have been complaining that they're locked down with their boyfriends and all their boyfriends do are play games all day. They're just on their PlayStations and stuff all day long. But I find myself too, I've been into this game called June's Journey, and it's one of those hidden object games. And I like the theme of it. It's a 1920s theme. It has, kind of cool music in it and stuff. But I find that I get a message from my iPhone every Sunday with how I've been using my phone. It's like a screen time report. And sometimes it's shocking how many hours I see that I spent on my phone. And then when it breaks it down to what I've been doing with my phone, like if number 1 on my phone is my Kindle app, I'm fine with it because it means I was engrossed in a good book. But when number 1 on my screen thing is June's Journey, it's just embarrassing, right? That I played it for too long. So one of the things I'm trying to do is trying to cut back on social media. I love social media. I don't want to cut it completely out of my life, but I do try to reduce the amount of time I spend on there. And, the kind of things, what do you really get out of social media? Like Facebook, for example, is great for connecting with old friends. I'm connected with my friends from school from long ago or my sorority sisters. It's a great way to keep in touch with what my family's doing now that we can't see each other so often. And I see pictures of their kids and stuff. But there's a lot of negativity on Facebook as well. And the algorithm that they use will push things at you that they think you're interested in. So if you happen to click on a political article that was, negative or something, they're going to keep pushing that stuff at you. So you see more and more and more of it, and you just kind of get bombarded. So I'm trying to cut back on how much time I spend on social media and how much time I'm playing these games. So just think about what are you really getting out of that game? I mean, sometimes it's nice to do a little busy work. I'll play it for a half hour or so now. Like I'll set a time where I put a time limit on how much I use my phone and how much time I play that game. Instead of every time that I have a spare moment picking up my phone and looking at it. It becomes a habit to be like, every time we have a spare moment to just like grab the phone and want to occupy ourselves instead of just being alone with our thoughts. So next time you have a little free time and you find yourself reaching for your phone, maybe pick up a notepad and jot down some ideas, make a to-do list or journal for a little bit and see if that makes you feel a little better at the end of the day. You probably get more out of that. Start making plans for your future by writing it down on paper. And instead of reaching for, whatever game, Candy Crush or whatever it is that you like to play. I see I have a comment. Regina, hello. Thank you for joining me today. Do you have any tips on how to choose a good, reasonably priced olive oil? I had someone ask me that question a couple weeks ago. I don't really stress out about olive oil that much. There's a lot of, you read a lot about olive oil and how like, there's fake olive oil out there and there's good olive oil out there. I have a few brands that I enjoy. Some olive oils can be outrageously expensive. I just look at the label to see if they were made in Italy or Spain or something like that. I went to Whole Foods the other day and they had one that was a Mediterranean blend. And I know some people would be like, it's a blend, don't buy that olive oil. But I thought it was really good. It was a little more reasonably priced because it wasn't from one specific region. But it was still a really good olive oil. It was just called their Mediterranean blend. So if you have a Whole Foods near you, it was pretty reasonably priced too. I think, I don't remember what the exact ounces were on the bottle. It was a good hefty bottle. And I think it was, might have been $6.99 or $8.99, something like that, which is pretty good for olive oil. And I have some other brands that I like as well. There's a local brand that I think you can buy across the country, but it's called Cento. And I like their olive oil. I buy their regular one and I buy their extra virgin one, and they're usually about $10 a bottle, I think, but it's a pretty big bottle. Or there's a brand, I think, that is their competitor called Rosa, which is also maybe like $1 cheaper if you can find that. Bertolli is a good olive oil. You know, the ones that you see people using on cooking shows are usually good ones. And you know, there's a lot of good olive oil out there. And it doesn't have to be from Greece or Italy or Spain. California has a lot of good olive oil too. So they're my tips on trying to find a good olive oil. Buy one that you like the flavor of. Some olive oils, when they are from one individual farm and place, will have a very specific flavor. So, you know, buy one that you think is a flavor that you like. Some can be bitter, some can be not. I remember one time I bought an olive oil from Spain, and it was very bitter. And while I didn't mind the flavor for certain things, it didn't work in all situations. So I usually buy regular olive oil for cooking and then extra virgin olive oil for drizzling or for salad dressings and things like that, or adding flavor to things. So I hope that answers your question. Excuse me. So I think the only other thing I wanted to talk to you about today, we are 17 minutes in. I usually like to keep these shows to about 20 minutes, is that I've been talking about my podcast for a long time, and my goal for the end of February was to launch my podcast. So it hasn't propagated to all of the networks that you can find it yet, so I haven't really done a lot of promotion on it, but I did finally launch my podcast. It's called La Dolce Vita Files with Donna DeRosa, and it's about it's not specifically about the Mediterranean diet, it's more about the lifestyle and all the things that go around being on a Mediterranean diet that are lifestyle based. So savoring your food, spending time with family and friends, adding romance to your life, all the things I talk about on my website, donnaderosa.com. It's actually based on a series of blog posts that I have on donnaderosa.com called La Dolce Vita Files, but I've expanded them for the podcast episodes. And at the end of each episode, I'm giving you a little homework assignment, something really fun, to maybe you can create little habits of La Dolce Vita in your life. So I'll put it down below where you can find it right now. It's on Spotify, and it's on a few places. It's available for Android users. It just hasn't gone to iTunes yet, which is usually the last one. They take a long time before they approve podcasts, so I'm hoping within the week it'll also be available for iTunes. But I'll put all the links down below of the different places that it is available right now where you can listen to it. And hopefully you'll join me on my podcast. I'm so excited to have finally launched it. And that I did it within the time frame that I had set up for myself, because I gave myself till the end of February to finally get in gear and launch it. So there's an introduction up. There is the first episode, the first official episode up. And then on Monday, episode 2 is going to go live. And then every Monday after that, a new episode will show up. So I hope you join me over there, and I'll put all the links to those things down below. So thank you for joining me, Regina, and whoever else is watching. I can see there are other people here. I think that's all I have for you today. So unless anyone has any questions, and if you're watching the replay, of course, you can always put questions down below in the comment section, and I will get back to you, or I will address them on the next episode. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next week. Bye.